Welcome to the 2016 Performance Management Process Training. I am Lisa Anderson and I have with me Christina Ball, and we're going to be tag teaming this training, so welcome. We are very excited about our new performance management process. This will be the first year that SGI is rolling out a company wide performance management process using a new tool. So, we're very excited about that. So, in this training, we're going to talk about the new process and what the expectations are for you as the employee and managers. We're going to go and review the timeline for completion. We're going to introduce you to the performance management module that's in Paylocity. Most of our employees are familiar with Paylocity because that's where you go to review your check stubs and your PTO balances. So hopefully everyone has at least logged into Paylocity at least once. And then we're going to be doing, Christina's going to be showing you guys a demonstration of the module through screenshots. Why do we bother with performance reviews? Why has SGI made the decision to do a company wide review process? Um, Many organizations have a formal process for performance reviews. And the annual review allows an employee and a manager to review your performance from the past year, but then also make sure that you have a clear understanding of the goals for the next year. It's also an opportunity to discuss your career goals and career objectives and understand what is required to succeed in your current position, as well as what's required for future positions in order to move up. It's also important to have a framework for you and your manager to discuss your accomplishments from the previous year, and maybe even some misses if you had misses. And also, again, to make sure that you understand your goals and the expectations for the upcoming year. And the performance appraisal form provides the framework for that conversation. So, why are we doing this? Again, we're adopting a single process um, across the entire company. We had some groups that had a performance review form that they were using, but other groups were not. So, for consistency purposes, now everyone will be on the same schedule and the same form. Also, we are using Paylocity, which of course again is our electronic system. And the nice thing with Paylocity, it is going to automate the process. So your performance review form will stay in Paylocity for the entire year. So if anytime you need access to your performance review form, you can certainly go into Paylocity and see it, and your manager can see it as well. But there will be no paper that you need to print out and send into HR because your form will stay housed in Paylocity. And again, you know, the reason why we're doing this is to standardize the form across the entire organization. What are the expectations for you, the employee? During the performance review process, you're going to be expected to complete your portion, what we're calling a self assessment, your portion of the online form. And that entails providing a summary of your accomplishments during the past review period. We're also going to have you list your job responsibilities just to make sure that your SGI PM understands what you do day to day, because many employees, their SGI PM don't sit on the site with you. So you're going to list your job responsibilities and also provide a summary of your accomplishments. Then you will have the opportunity to rate yourself on each competency. And we will talk about what a competency is a little later on in the presentation. We also want you to be engaged and provide suggestions on what future training or development interests that you may have. So again, we want this to be an engagement process. So you're letting your manager know, what interest you have around future training. This is also an expectation is that we want you to have an open dialogue with your manager during this process. And you will see in the process we do have where you will have a conversation with your manager. And what you're going to be doing is reviewing your mistakes and misses from the last year, if you had any, and then again understand your goals for the next year. For the first time this year, SGI, we will be, as a company-wide process, be setting goals. And as an expectation of an employee and a manager, we are hoping that you and your manager will have that opportunity to establish goals for the upcoming year. However, in the form, the performance appraisal form on Paylocity, if you have ideas as the employee, if you have ideas of goals, you can certainly add them in the form, and then you and your manager could tweak them. It's not a requirement. The accountability for establishing goals will fall on the managers. However, if you want input and you have ideas, you can certainly add goals on the form. If you decide to do that, just keep in mind that goals should be SMART goals. And that means the acronym SMART is specific. Your goal needs to be very specific what it is and when you're supposed to complete it. Measurable, it should have some criteria for measuring the progress of a goal. Attainable, do you have the skills or do you have the resources to accomplish the goal? Relevant, is the goal relevant to your position or relevant to your professional development? And timely, is there enough time for you to achieve the goal? Now, managers will be getting more detailed training on goal setting, but we put this slide in the presentation because you may want to take a stab, especially if you have ideas around your goals of adding a goals. Okay, so what is the expectation for the managers? So the managers will be commenting on your performance and evaluating your performance. The manager will also be rating and commenting on your competencies. The manager will be accountable for establishing goals for the upcoming year. And managers will also identify and provide suggestions for training and development activities. So again, the managers will be receiving their own training, which will be, again, a more intense training around this performance review process. So here are the steps of our performance management process. There are three major steps in the process. The first is the employee self-assessment, and again, this is where you will be providing a highlight of your accomplishments, and this is where you will be self-rating yourself on the competencies, and again, we'll talk about that in a few slides. The next step, then the manager will review your comments and your ratings, and then this is the step where they will seek other appropriate input. So for example, many of our SGI PMs do not sit on the site with our employees. So this will be the opportunity for your SGI PM to reach out to your customer, or if you are sitting on a site with the prime, such as Rolling Bay, that manager, this is where the SGI PM and the Rolling Bay manager will have a conversation about your performance. So the SGI PM is making sure that they get the feedback. And then, of course, the manager completes the performance review in Paylocity. Then the next step will be the manager and employee discussion. After the manager completes their part of the review, they will schedule a meeting or conference call in order to discuss the review with you, the employee. Once that conversation happens, then the employee will sign the review. At this point, you will have an opportunity to add comments based on your discussion with your manager and then sign. And then the manager will get to read those comments and then sign. And then that kind of ends the process. But this is just sort of a general high-level step-by-step process, the three major steps of our new process. Now let's talk about the timeline and the key dates of our process. Of course, this week, August 29th through September 2nd, we're providing training for all employees on the process and the tools. Major date, the self-assessment window is going to open up on September 12th and run for 3 weeks to the 30th. So you're not going to see your review form in Paylocity until September the 12th. But I wanted to take a minute on this because we have some of our SGI PMs who have quite a number of employees to evaluate. And so even though the company-wide deadline or window is September 12th through 30th, please don't be surprised if your manager sets a different date to make sure that he or she will have enough time to evaluate everyone's performance. So if your manager comes to you and says, I want all self-assessments done by September 20th, the manager has the prerogative to do that, because we have some managers that have 3 employees to evaluate, and we have some managers that have 20 employees to evaluate. So the managers do have the discretion to set a deadline within the deadline. September 19th through the 23rd will be manager training. The managers will be getting much more of a detailed training. Their training will involve how to evaluate performance, how to set goals, and those types of things. They'll be also trained on the business rules and the tools of the process. Then on the 3rd of October through the 21st of October, the manager will have 3 weeks to complete their portion of the review form. And I just want to again go back. If you complete your self-assessment on, let's say, September 20th, the manager will have the access to be able to complete your review. So that gives them a little bit more time, especially if they have a large number of employees to evaluate. So, they may have access to your form on September 21st, and that gives them more time. So again, please don't be surprised if your manager asks you to complete your self-assessment a little earlier. 3 weeks for the manager to complete their part of the review, and then on October 31st through November 18th, that's when we expect managers to schedule meetings or conference calls with their employees to discuss the review form. And again, that's a 3-week process. November 18th is the last date of the deadline for the process. We expect all conversations to be had by that time, and all forms signed in Paylocity by both employee and manager. Okay, let's talk about the employee self-assessment and what the expectations are around the self-assessment. The first, again, you will have an opportunity to share your accomplishments with your manager and list your job responsibilities. Now, the intent is, especially on your accomplishments, is to provide a summary of your accomplishments, not a detailed multi-page list. Just keep in mind, your manager will be reading these comments. It would be much cleaner if you could either bullet point your accomplishments, or instead of a paragraph, book style format that the manager will have to read through paragraphs and paragraphs of data. So again, this is your opportunity to shine and to tell your manager all the great things you've accomplished this year, but please try to summarize it. Also, you're going to be encouraged to comment on the manner in which you perform your work by using the comment section at the end of each competency section. So let's talk a little bit about competencies. Competencies are behaviors in which you sort of get your job done. And the 6 competencies that all of our employees will be rated on are listed on this slide. Job knowledge, communication skills, customer service, dependability, teamwork, and integrity. Those are the 6 competencies that every employee at SGI will be rated on. The managers will be rated on these 6 competencies plus additional managerial competencies. So again, when Christina gets into the demo, she will show you exactly where you rate yourself and exactly where you add your comments on the performance appraisal form. About the competencies, each competency has a short description to describe what the competency is. And job summary is the first section listed on that form. So this is the section where you will be summarizing your job responsibilities. Also, this is the section where you will be putting your accomplishments. When you rate yourself on a competency such as job knowledge, you need to give examples of your performance to justify the rating. We're going to have a 5-point scale. If you give yourself all 5s on all of the competencies, you need to make sure you have specific justification for those 5s. The next slide, next 1 or 2 slides, we'll be talking about the ratings, but we want to make sure that everyone understands that if you're giving yourself a rating, you have to justify that rating, and the same for the managers. When the manager evaluates your performance and gives you a rating, that manager will be listing specific examples of performance in order to justify that rating. So we're asking for that justification on both sides. You, the employee, and the manager have to justify the ratings. Okay, the performance ratings. And I want to take a minute on this because these are the definitions of the rating. We will be using a 5-point rating scale, 1 through 5. 3, I want to talk about 3 because 3 means that you're fully meeting all job expectation and your performance demonstrates the skills and knowledge to meet position requirements. You may occasionally exceed expectations, but for the most part, you're coming to work, you're doing your job, and you're meeting all performance expectations. I like to talk about the 3 because some employees think that the 3 is equates to a C. Because there's a 5-point scale, many employees look at A, B, C, D, or F. I want to talk about that because that is not the case. If you get a 3 on your performance review, that means that you're fully meeting all job expectations. Now, on the flip side, let's talk about a 1 or a 2. If you are rated a 1 on a competency, which is unsatisfactory, that means performance is consistently below expectations. Significant improvement is necessary within a short period of time to remain in the position. If someone is rated a 1 on a competency, the first question I have for a manager is, number 1, why am I just hearing about this? Because if someone has been struggling in their job at this level, we should already have them on a performance improvement plan. And so the ones, this is what HR's role is. We'll be looking out for any 1s and 2s to make sure that if someone's rated a 1, what have we done? Because the performance review should not be a surprise. This should not be where the person is finding out that they're a 1 in performance. So the rating of a 2 is satisfactory. Performance is usually satisfactory, but may fall below expectations. And so, if someone is rated a 2, we will have HR will be having discussions with managers on what we're doing to try to help this person improve their performance. On the flip side, if someone is rated a 4 or a 5, 4 means that the person is often exceeding expectations of this position. So they are really exceeding on all fronts. And a 5 is that they're consistently exceeding on all fronts. And so if someone is rated a 4 or a 5, there should be specific examples on why this person is rated a 4 and a 5. And so this rating scale is new for us as SGI. And again, during the management training, we will be going into very much detail on managers on how to distinguish performance. Okay, so to summarize, we're going to have you complete your summary of accomplishments. Once you submit your form, the form will route to your manager through Paylocity. When your manager completes their portion of the form will route back to you, the employee, through Paylocity. You will have an opportunity to add comments after the review with the manager and prior to signing the form. After you add your comments, if you like, and sign the form, then it goes back to the manager, and the manager will be able to read your comments, add comments if he or she would like, and then sign the form, and then the form is done. This slide is just a workflow of our process along with the key dates. And so as you can see, the process will open up on September the 12th. Going through that workflow, everything will end on November the 18th. All discussions will be completed. All forms will be electronically signed in Paylocity, and that will end our performance review process. Now we're going to turn it over to Christina Ball for the actual demo of the Paylocity system. Many of you know Christina, so I'm going to turn it over to her, and I'll chime in as necessary. But Christina's going to walk you through all the screenshots on how to use the form in Paylocity.
Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is log into your Paylocity account. The only reason this would be difficult for some people is if they are a new hire or have just come on board. The first thing you're going to need to do is register yourself as a user. This puts you in the system as an SGI employee to create your username, your password, your security questions. If you haven't gone through that process, you have to do that first. So that's the register user button at the bottom of the page. But if you have already established all that, then all you're going to do is log in as normal. Alright, once you have went ahead and logged in, at the top of your screen, you're going to see a talent tab. If you click on that, it's going to create drop downs. Now to get to the performance review, you want to click talent, and then the drop downs it's creating, you want to click on the My Performance Review tab. Okay, once you click on that My Performance Review sub-tab, this is the screen you're going to see. So over on the far left, that's what you're going to be looking at. This is going to show you who your reviewer is. In this case, it's me for screenshotting purposes, when they want it due by, and everything's pending, which means you haven't opened it and started it yet. The goals and the feedback, that's for if you had a review from last year. You can see your previous goals and the feedback you got from your manager or that you gave. But in order to open the current performance review assigned to you, you want to go ahead and click this View button. After you click that View button, on the left-hand side of your screen, you're going to see this box. For whatever reason, when you initially open it, it starts you out in the Summary section. So what we're asking everyone to do, just to make sure you're starting at the beginning of the performance review, is just click on this box so that it's highlighted. It's going to have the little arrow. This is just making sure you're starting at the beginning of your review. So once you click that job competencies box, it's going to start you at the beginning. The first section is the job summary. This we're looking mainly for bullet points, something short and sweet that your manager can go through if they're not on site with you. Like Lisa said earlier, we want them to see what you're doing day to day from you. And then also on this page, we'd like you to add some of your accomplishments in.
And so what's going to happen is you will see it will say summarize job responsibilities, and we're going to add highlight accomplishments so you know where to put your accomplishments. The other thing I wanted to mention, in that red box right above it, it says that it has 15,000 characters. We really hope that no one uses all 15,000 of those characters, but that's how much room you have to put your responsibilities and your highlights. Also, right next to that character 15,000, it's a spell check, ABC and a check mark, so you can actually spell check your words that you put in that box. So I think that's a great feature.
Alright, and to get to the next section, all you're simply going to do is just scroll down. So the second part of that first section is job knowledge. What we want you to do is read the statement under job knowledge. So the first part of it is understands duties and responsibilities. You're going to read that statement, and then the drop down for comments from employee is where the self-rating is going to come in. So based on the statement above, you're going to rate yourself. Now, the important part of this process is going to be the box below it, again with 15,000 characters and spell check. We want you to justify your rating. So it's not going to be you give yourself a 5 and that's what you think you are. We want you to put specific examples in there so that your manager has something to hold on to when they're trying to figure out why you rated yourself that. Now, the next 5 sections of that first part are exactly the same. After you rate yourself and you put your specific examples, you're just going to keep scrolling down. So the first section was job knowledge, then you have communication skills, all the way down to integrity. You just keep scrolling until you've completed all of those. Now, after the integrity section, at the very bottom of your screen, you will have scrolled down as far as you can go. This is where you're going to see a save button, a save and exit, and a next. If you've got the time, there's only 2 sections, so if you've got the time, I would save and click the next button to go to the second section. If at this point you wanted to save and come back to it later, that is an option. You would click save and exit. So it would save all the work that you've put in thus far, and then you can go back in and reopen it at a different time if you'd like. Now the second section is goals. So this is going to be a lot more intense for the manager training, but if you think that you'd like to add some goals for yourself, it's pretty simple. You just are going to click the add goal button in the top right corner. And that is going to bring up a more detailed box. So as you can see, the first 3 boxes, they say required. So in order to save this goal, you have to fill out like a title of your goal, what you're going to call it, what it is, and then what date you hope to start this goal by. It can be something you're setting for yourself in the future, or it can be something that you want to complete today. What we're also asking you to take a look at before you save is category.
In the category section, there are 2 options. A goal can be a job specific type goal, or it can be a goal for professional development. So if one of your goals is to attend a training class to learn a new skill for your development, then you would highlight professional development. If it's a goal that is directly related to your position and your job, then you would highlight job specific.
And then, so if you can assign it one of those two categories, that would be more helpful for your manager when they're reviewing this part of your review. If you'll notice too, there's a scroll. The only thing the screen grab wouldn't capture is the rest of this notes box, and then like start date, there is an end date option. So if you wanted to be very specific, you can add an end date. Again, that's not required. It's up to you. But when you have completed this detailed box, you're just going to go ahead and click the Save button. Now, once you click that Save button, it's going to bring you back and just kind of give you a list of all the goals you've added thus far. Or if you'd like to add none and leave that up to your manager, that's fine too. The one thing I did want to add here is be careful about the sensitive or classified information you put. We want you to be specific but vague enough to where you're not saying anything you're not supposed to per se. Now, once you have added your goals or not added goals, if you scroll the bottom of that page, it's going to be the same as the first section. You can save and click Next to complete your review, or you can save and exit and come back to completing it later. It's completely up to you. So if you do save and click Next, it's going to bring you to the summary page, which is the end of your review. I did want to point out to the left of the complete button, and the complete button will submit your review to your manager. There's stars. This is showing you the average of how you rated yourself. And once you click that submit button, in its place is going to be a green check mark, and it's going to say review submitted. This is just letting you know that you've done your portion of the self-rating and now it's gone to your manager. Now, after you've gotten that green review submitted screen, you're going to want to go back to the home page just as like a triple check to make sure that it has been submitted for your manager's review. So what you're going to do, there's no go home button or back, so we're just going to do the same thing as we did when we opened it. We're going to click the Talent tab at the top of the screen and then the sub tab or the drop down for My Performance Review. Then again, on that page, the box to the left is the one you're looking for, and you can see instead of orange, it's now blue. It shows your average that you gave yourself on the rating, and if you can see, it still shows that the reviewer is pending. So that means it is in progress being reviewed by your manager. Now, once your manager has completed their portion of your review, you're going to see that this box went back from being blue to orange again, saying signature required. So on this little screenshot, you can see the average of what they gave you versus what you gave yourself. But in order to see specifics and sign, you're going to need to go back in. So just like before, in order to open and sign the review and read specifics, you're going to click that View button. Once you click that View button, you have to scroll down a tad to get to this screenshot, but it was very important for me to put this on here because this is how you see specific ratings. So right now, I've got the reviewer box clicked, which would be the manager. So if you click reviewer, you can see on job knowledge, they rated you a 3. On communication skills, they rated you a 3. For this example, I did all 3s just to be nice, but you can see specifics. Now, if you wanted to see oh, they gave me a 3. What did I give myself again? You just click the employee. That will turn blue. It kind of toggles back and forth. Okay, so if you scroll back up a little bit, this is going to be the page you see. I really want to stress at this point, please do not sign the review until you've had that sit down kind of scheduled meeting with your manager, whether it's in person or over the phone. I know some managers aren't right there for you to have that sit down, but we do want you guys to sit down and talk about the ratings, the justifications, make sure you're both on the same page. That should happen before you sign the review. But at this point, let's just say you've already had your meeting. You have some final questions after your meeting that you just want to add, or final comments. This is the box. Again, there's 8,000 characters. Please don't make them read that much. There's also a spell check. That's where your comments would go. Again, it would still show the average of both people, and then you would just click the sign review button. So once you have clicked that sign review button, you are done with the performance review process. You'll get a notification at the top of your screen in green saying that your review has been successfully signed, and this means you have come to the end of your performance review journey. Although the performance review history will be on Paylocity for years to come, for you to go in and access and look at some of the old ratings maybe next year or whatnot, we understand that some of you might like to keep paper records, even though we're trying to stay away from that here at headquarters. So if you would like to print out your review, it prints out in PDF form, and the Print My Review button is directly to the left, on the left side of your page, directly below where you can see that you've completed each section. Alright, and in conclusion, the performance reviews will be available starting September 12th in your Paylocity account. You have until the 30th to complete them upon your manager's discretion. It could be earlier. And if you have any questions up until then, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or Lisa. We're available by phone and email. I'm also going to try to put this PowerPoint up on Paylocity's homepage, over where you can find the payroll calendar and the link to SimPack and Web Outlook Mail. I'm going to try and stick it there just so within a few days, if you forget by the time you're going through and you just want to refresh your memory, or if you want to go along with the slides and make sure you're hitting every step, it's up there for you. And also, we're always looking for feedback, so if you've got any feedback on how to make the process faster or easier to understand, please shoot us an email, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.